Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Up with Steph. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know I had various tech issues with this episode. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the video coming up is just going to look different than it has before. If you're listening to it, it doesn't really matter. I literally just got a new computer and I'm recording on my new computer. So I hope this is fixing all of the issues that I've had for the past couple months. This is such an important episode. I'm interviewing the leadership of the American Dental Hygienists Association, but this episode isn't just for hygienists, by the way. Unless you've been living under a rock lately, you know how crazy things are right now in dentistry, and this conversation affects anyone who's working in the field. Because of the hygiene shortage, we have people who are trying to get creative to solve that shortage. Last fall, foreign trained docs and dental students were brought forward to potentially do some hygiene duties. Then the American Dental Association created a new clinical position called the OPA, or the Oral Preventive Assistant, which would allow assistants to do supragingival scaling and probing with some training as long as they were a dental assistant. Flash forward to now, and we've had bills introduced that would train literally anyone to become a quote unquote hygienist with very minimal training and no prior education. And with all this going on, there's a lot of noise online right now. We've got groups attacking each other, people attacking each other, associations kind of attacking each other. And to me, that's not the best way to get accurate information because typically people are angry when they're posting these things, and it's just not useful to get our information from that kind of content. Me personally, I like to try to go to the source if I can. A couple weeks ago, I released an episode I did with the president of the American Dental Association, kind of picking his brain as far as the logic behind these things. I also wanted to know the assistant perspective. So I brought in a really strong advocate for assistants to share their perspective. And today I'm interviewing the Hygiene Association. I do feel like we're at a very critical point in dentistry and all of this craziness. Like, I don't even know what this is going to look like in even the next year, let alone 5 or 10 years. But I do think the way dentistry is practiced is probably going to look way different in 5 years than it does right now. I've been a member of the ADHA for as long as I can remember. I've been a hygienist for over 17 years now, and I would be lying if I said that I never questioned my membership over the years. I've questioned where my money's going. Is it actually going to legislation and advancing the field of dental hygiene, or is it going to pay someone's salary? I've also wondered, what is the ADHA actually doing behind the scenes? I mean, I know they're doing a lot, but what is it? Like, for example, with this situation in Nevada, where a bill was introduced to allow anyone to get on the job training to become a dental hygienist. Luckily, time ran out on that bill, so it didn't go forward. However, I do think next time with the next round of legislation, we'll probably see it again. And I do think in other states, we will see this as well. And I can see at the state level people fighting this bill. And I understand that. Like in Nevada, I could see the Nevada Dental Hygiene Association, what they were doing. But I was wondering what the ADHA really did for that too. So today I'm talking to the president and president-elect of the Dental Hygiene Association, Erin and Lancette, and they answer those questions for me. We also talk about autonomy, and it seems with these conversations I've had lately, autonomy means something different to different people. They explain what autonomy really is for dental hygienists and why it's so important for us to pursue that. They also share their vision for dental hygienists in the years to come. I also think it's really important to start educating the public on what dental hygienists really do so that our patients can advocate for themselves and make sure that they're seeing who they are wanting to see. There's a new organization called the Oral Health Awareness Project that their main goal, it sounds like, is to create a huge PR campaign to educate the public. So Erin and Lancette weigh in on their opinion of that as well. Again, no matter what position you hold in dentistry, this is a very important conversation. And if you aren't caught up on the episodes that I've done on this prior, I will link all of those down in the show notes for you. So important for us to understand what's going on. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Erin and Lancette of the ADHA. Hey, it's Steph, and welcome to the Straight Up with Steph podcast, where we have real discussions around health and life and just trying to be better at both. Hello, Lancette and Erin. I am so excited to interview you. I want to hear everything that the ADHA is up to. And before we get into some of the spicier things that we've got going on, I really wanted to just ask what the ADHA is working on right now and something that you guys are just really proud of.
That is a great place to start. But first, I just want to say one quick thing, Stephanie. Thank you for your membership. is you are a member of ADHA. I wanted to
Yes,
make
I've
that
been a
first.
longtime member.
Yeah, so I wanted to make that first and upfront. Thank you for your membership. Not a lot of hygienists are members, and that's part of our struggle. And I wanted to recognize that first off the bat. So I really do appreciate your membership and your support in Colorado. Colorado has done some great things, and they're able to do that because of members like you. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, we'll dive right in. There are many things that I'm proud of that ADHA is working on, and I hope Lancette's proud. She's doing her
Definitely,
best.
definitely am.
But there's lots of things we've done this year at the association, and I'll list a few of them. The Dentist and the Dental Hygiene Compact is another big one, right? We have 12 states advancing our mission to develop license portability, and that's huge. And we're hopeful for more. I think we have 13 states considering still that legislation. And so I am hopeful that we'll have close to 25 or even 20 states in the next year. So that's fantastic. We have our Hygienist Inspire program, and that is to recruit and build a more diverse profession in the future for dental hygiene. And that's recruiting high school students or individuals that come into the dental office. It's chairside recruiting. That's how I was recruited to be a hygienist. I see value in that. And I'm excited about that program and having ambassadors across the country. We had over 41 live webinars at ADHA this year.
Oh, wow.
And that is a lot. And I really think that's great value for our members because they're free for our members. They might not always be free for a non-member, but there were a few. And so those are on a weekly basis. We had a mental health awareness event. We've had business certifications. We have an engaging podcast that is going to change even more in the next year. And I'm really excited about that coming up for the next fiscal year. When I say year, everybody thinks about a calendar, but ADHA works on a fiscal year. So our year is going to be starting off brand new July 1. And that's when Lancette will be taking over as ADHA president. And I felt it was so important to have her with us because not only has she been my partner this entire year, but she's taking off on July 1. So it's important for everyone to see and understand where we're at in our calendar. The other item is we have our Journal of Dental Hygiene. We had one really big, exciting event that was an update to our standards of dental hygiene practice. And I was really excited that was happening this year because it really needed to be done. It'd been 2016 was our last update. And it was time. It was time to add in airway assessments. It was time to add in craniofacial abnormalities. It's time to look at all of those new technologies coming forward and putting those into our standards of practice. But I think that for me, we want to know about me, Erin, what my personal excitement was for this year was the fact that we built and rebuilt our advocacy toolkits and our action center for our members. And it was the right time to do that. As we all know, this year has been full of all kinds of things. And I came into this in leadership saying we need to rebuild that and we need it back. And it was built to support hygienists across the country and to support our state leaders because they're all volunteers and they need to have resources at their fingertips. We now have a lobby team in DC. We have Voter Voice and we have Bill Trucker 50. So lots of huge things happening in this last year. And I'm really happy with the success that we've made.
Can I just add a couple of things on that really quick? That was fantastic. Other just exciting things I think that we have really built on this year is starting to move at a different pace, right? Associations move slow. Typically, it takes a long time to drive change. And under the last couple of years of ADHA leadership, we have realized that we need to move at a faster pace. We need to have conversations about redesigning membership categories, redesigning our infrastructure, how we do things, the pace we do things. And I'm really proud of ADHA for pivoting and being a very, very evidence-based, fast-paced organization in the association world. And that was really under Erin's leadership. So thank you, Erin, for doing that. We, for the first time, implemented several interim policies. We didn't wait for our House of Delegates to meet. We thought things were really critically important, like dental assistant scaling and the role of the dental hygienist in assessing airway health. So we implemented a couple interim policies immediately this year. We didn't wait a whole year like we have. And the other thing that we have really worked on is bridging relationships with other organizations that support dental hygienists. We know right now there is one big organization that is not supporting dental hygienists. And we did meet with them and we did try to find some common ground, and that was not possible. So instead of like really focusing on building relationships with people who do not value us. We are building relationships with people who do value us. And there are multiple organizations. The Academy of General Dentistry, for one, has really stepped up to the plate. So what I'm excited about is this next year is more evidence-based decision-making, faster pace of doing business, looking at a fresh new ADHA that is not the same ADHA from, even I would say 5 years ago. I want to honor our past, but we have got to move at a different pace and really continuing this partnership with corporate entities, other associations that actually do see value in the hygienist. And there's lots of them out there. And I think that's what I'm really excited about. My whole speech that I'll be giving in about a week is creating waves of change. I think you're going to see hygienists stepping up, and we're going to create a tsunami of change focused on autonomy and independence and elevating the role of the dental hygienist. So I think there's lots of things to be excited about.
Yeah, you guys have just been, I was talking to Erin yesterday, and I do not know how you guys do everything that you do, because I know you've both got families, you're both seeing patients, you're in leadership in ADHA. Like, I seriously don't know how it happens. But talking about organizations that support hygienists, I was recently on a webinar for a new organization called the Oral Health Awareness Project. And their whole thing is to like create a PR campaign. It sounds like it's more for the public to educate them on hygienists. Are you familiar with them? And are you guys working together with them?
We are familiar with them. And
Okay.
while we do support any initiative, right? We're going to support hygienists however we choose. We have to be very specific about where we spend our time. You just said our time is valuable, and I appreciate that, right? I'm working full time 4 days a week in a clinical practice, general practice. It's 10-hour days. And then I come home, I might have time for dinner and go to the gym, and then I got to sit down and do my association work. And so time is precious, right? And we want to use our resources to the fullest extent. So we can't be everywhere. We have to support each other, and that's okay. We use our precious membership dollars to get the most out of that dollars we can. So we can't be everywhere and we can't be everything. And I think it's important to understand that. So just because you may not see ADHA doesn't mean we're not supporting that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And you mentioned earlier, Erin, about, I can't even remember what you just said about the members of ADHA, but like the short story is we need more members, right? Do you guys have like a percentage of the hygienists that are actually members right now?
Well, what I can tell you is we have over 25,000 members in ADHA. So that's across the board, 25,000 plus, and we're growing every day. And that's the exciting part, is that our membership numbers are going up. And I think that's great. And it's because we're talking, right? We're having authentic conversations about what's going on in our community, what's important to us, and the leadership, myself, Lancette, and our staff, we're listening, right? It's all about listening to understand, not just listening to hear. It's really important to know that. But I think our fastest growing professional category is our new professional. Our new professional category is a 65% cost reduction for a new professional to come into our association. So for the first 2 years of their career, they're paying a reduced fee for their membership. Compared to all of us that are on this Zoom, we are all professional members because we're beyond that 2 years. At least I am. I don't know about anybody else, but they're building specifically for them, right? They're our future. They're the future of this organization. I'm starting to phase her out after celebrating 30 years. Like, I don't know how long I'll be in clinical. I would love to stay there till I'm 100, but that's inconceivable. I think that we're building new professional tools, resume building, career tips, job boards. We have a mentor match program that you can enter into. And I encourage you, Stephanie, to enter into Mentor Match, because there might be somebody across the country that's watching you and wants to learn from you, and you might be matched as a mentor. And that's part of membership, is being there to support everyone. And we have one really important thing that's coming soon, and it's an interactive licensure map coming to our website. And this is going to make it a lot easier for all of us to understand what licensure looks like across state lines, what's required, what's not, what the scope of practice is. And all of that is going to be from ADHA. And it's going to be really important as that license portability comes across. So while I'd love to say that we have 50% membership, it's changing every 24 hours. So a percentage wouldn't be real accurate. at this point.
Would you say that you've gotten an uptick in membership with all of this just craziness that's going on right now?
Yes, we have,
Okay.
especially in the new professional category. I checked just yesterday and we're close to 1,000 members in that category. And that's huge
Okay.
because that's a demographic that we didn't have. And so we're looking at that membership data and looking at the demographics, who's going out, who's staying in, who's coming, how many students do we have? I mean, we have many students. I couldn't even tell you how many students we have across the country because there's close to almost 18,000 dental hygiene students in school right now across the country. And most of those schools have student chapters. So that's a large portion of that's another section of our organization in our membership pool. Lancette, you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, no, just kind of, it actually plays into both of those things that you guys were just talking about when it comes to working together and how we need a lot of voices. We need probably a lot of different ways, to communicate messages and tell our story. Those are all critically important. I would say that associations are the recognized voice of professions in the legislature. So other programs and PR and commercials and things are not going to change laws. They're going to make us feel really good. They are going to raise awareness, but the public honestly knows dental hygienists and values dental hygienists. The public is not our issue. Organized dentistry is our issue. So when you go talk to the governor or you talk to a senator or you talk to an assembly person, they're not going to care so much about a social media campaign or a PR or a commercial. What they really do is they go to associations. Associations are the recognized voice. So where we want to make sure that our message comes across strong is, yes, support all these new little pop-up things happening. If that resonates with you, that's great. But by no means make that a replacement or a substitute for supporting your professional association, the ones who are actually doing the work in advocacy, continuing education, supporting hygienists on a daily basis when times are good and when times are not good, right? An association that's been there for well over 100 years, uniting hygienists from across the country, not just focusing on one specific state or one specific area. So I am a registered lobbyist. I can tell you I've worked with nonprofits for over 30 years in the legislature, and it is associations that are the recognized voice of all professions, not just dental hygiene. So we're excited that our membership is growing. We saw a huge uptick with what's going on, especially in Nevada. And we need that momentum to continue. Again, we kind of saw a couple issues kind of go away. New ones are popping up. We need to continue this momentum and really encouraging people to support the profession in all the ways possible and not just picking one, because it's going to take all of it, I really think, to battle some of the things we expect in the next year.
Oh, yeah. I just think maybe all these different organizations are somehow could cohesively work together just to increase or just to help the issues that we're having right now. But don't you think educating the public would make them demand when they go to a dental office to make sure that they're seeing a hygienist? Or do you think that's not really a thing?
I think we would all love to make it that easy and that simple and that idealistic. But if you think about, all the major issues that are going on in our world, we have everything from suicide to mental health to dental hygiene. Workforce issues are a big thing to us right now. Are they a big thing to most people out there? I don't know. We don't know, right? I don't think the public is our enemy. I don't think the public is going to drive change. I think they can help, but I know my patients, they'll wait 7, 8, 9 months to see me. They will never cancel their appointments. They will never see somebody else. Patients are ready. The public values dental hygienists. They are not our enemy or our issue. There's a bigger fish to fry, and that's really where, ADHA is investing our membership dollars. We only have so much money. We have a small staff. We're paying a lobbyist in DC. So when we look at where are we going to get the most bang for our buck, it is advocacy, it is lobbyists, it is state efforts. It is not probably going to be the public for us. However, we do support PR campaigns. We do support educating the public. To spend millions and millions of dollars and think that that's going to change what's happening in our industry right now, we just don't have any evidence to prove that that would be enough or successful.
There is probably some sidebar evidence because I know another profession did the same thing. And they had a multi-million-dollar campaign to educate the public about what that provider does in the medical space. It did not.
What was that?
Nursing.
Oh, nursing. Okay.
That it did not translate into didn't give them a return on their investment, right? Multi-million-dollar campaign. It wasn't only social media. It was mainstream news. It was mainstream media in a sense on television and advertisements. Now, I don't think that they realized exactly what they wanted out of that. I don't think that came back to them. At least in my conversations with the nursing leaders I know, they're like, that just didn't give us a return. And so I like to always remind people that at ADHA, we do pull from other places, and we're watching them just as much as they're watching us in the professional association world. And I'm happy to say we're actually we're the leader in the nation. We're doing things inside of our professional association from a business standpoint that other associations are wanting to do. And they're calling us and asking us how we're doing it. So while we're learning from us, we're learning from them. And they're like, that was a misstep. We don't recommend you do that. So yeah. So while it sounds great to push that public awareness, and I say, do it in the chair with your patients.
Yeah.
That will make a bigger impact. I've done that recently with almost every patient in my chair, and they are much more supportive of hygienists. They're like, no, I want an educated provider. I think that's important to be just talking about in the chair.
Yeah.
It's challenging. I think it's important to understand that if we had more resources, we would do more. We can only do what we can with what we have. It's just like any old household budget, right? If I want to go and remodel part of my house, I might have to give up that great vacation in order to do it. So that's how we manage the funds at the association as well.
Well, that's a great segue into something that I think a lot of people have questions about. And I used to also before I understood all this. But when someone's paying their ADHA dues, what I don't even know how much it is per year right now, where does that money go? And I just want to be completely transparent. Over my almost 20 years as a hygienist, there have been times where I'm like, okay, is this money actually going to the state of Colorado, or is it going to pay some salary of an executive? So could you provide a breakdown of how that's like spread out?
Sure. So it's a complex question. And you just touched on that because you're in Colorado. Lancette's in Nevada. I'm in Nebraska, right? So it's important to first understand that ADHA is a tripartite. We have 3 layers, and that's the national, and that's who you're talking to today. Then you have your state leaders. That'd be your Colorado leaders. And then in some states, there's components, and there are representatives from components that do work within the state organizations. So every layer has a reaping financial benefits from that membership. Now, the only area that ADHA leadership has control over is our national dues. So Colorado sets their dues, and their component dues are based from Colorado. So yes, a portion of your membership dollars are going to Colorado. It is not the purview of the ADHA president to decide what Colorado is getting. It's just not going to happen like in that way. I don't have control over that. That's going to be the Colorado state president, Nebraska state president, Nevada. You want to contact them to understand what they're spending their dues amounts on. But for ADHA, all of that bucket for a national, we take that and we spread that across the organization. And yes, we do use it to cover costs of doing business, right? Our website has a cost. Our platforms all have a cost. It's the overhead, right? We have it at work too, turning on the lights, all the things.
Right.
So there's that portion of the dues. But I can tell you 89 cents of every membership dollar that comes to national is put towards something for membership. We're required to reinvest for members with those membership dollars. So that supports not only the business of the association, it supports the webinar productions, the Journal of Dental Hygiene, the item like Hygienist Hub, where you can publish an article. We do have sponsorship that helps us, but not all of it comes from sponsorship. We have regional events that we support. And so while we continue to reinvest, we will shift if we need. And we did that this year with adding voter voice, Bill Tracker 50 for the state leaders to be able to track legislation because it comes up fast and furious sometimes without notice. And I believe that's what happened in Nevada, right? There was no notice. The only notice we had was Bill Tracker 50 paying attention, right? We manage our membership database. That's all software based. And we also have our national board review for students. These things come with a price tag. So we shift to be able to provide them, but that's where your dues go. They do not go to pay me. I'm a volunteer. And
Mhm.
as much as I'd love to say that ADHA president is paid, I'm not. The only individuals we pay are our do we have 14 staff? Wow, I just had a little glitch in my brain. 14 staff. We have a mighty staff of individuals that work in professional association management. That is their profession, just like my profession is dental hygiene. So I lean into them on membership, database management, or what do professional associations and what are they doing across the country? Because that is just not my wheelhouse. I know how to scale. I know how to do all of the assessments for dental hygiene, right? That's my wheelhouse. So I have to lean on them and then bring in the view of a hygienist to help build something for our profession. Is there anything I forgot, Lancette?
Advocacy. A bulk of it goes to, we have a membership department, we have an advocacy department, we have a communications department, and each of those is staffed by a person who does that as their full-time job. So yes, some of the dues do go to paying our staff, but also goes to all of the programs that come out of the work that the staff is doing. So 89 cents on every dollar. ADHA is a not-for-profit organization. We do not make a profit. Do not pay our volunteer leaders. All that money goes to pay staff who gets to work on our behalf when we actually are seeing our patients or doing our podcasts or speaking or whatever, because none of us work there full time. So we have to pay people to do that for us.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was 89 cents per dollar. Like that's a lot higher, I guess, than I realized. Talking about legislation, I'm just really curious because a lot of times I see posts from ADHA saying like we need people to join because we need basically money for legislation, right? And I'm assuming that's to pay lobbyists. Is there like a ballpark range on how much a lobbyist actually costs?
Well, I think it depends upon where you're at in the country.
Okay.
So in my experience as a past leader in my state, I mean, that cost could range between $30,000 and $40,000 a year for one lobbyist. Now,
Okay.
some states don't even have a lobbyist because they don't have a budget that supports that expense. So they have an individual that's coming forward and volunteering. Could it be a retired hygienist? It could be anyone really. But in some states, even lobbyists will, out of the graciousness of their own heart, cut their contractual amount to be able to do the work for our association because they believe in what we're doing. Now, I don't know that that's really fair. Lobbyists need to have a living wage. We all
Yeah.
want a living wage, right? So, but remember when I said we can only do what we want with what we have? I think that if we have legislation going forward and a state has one lobbyist, I think the dental association might have four. See the difference? There's
Mhm.
way more power in four lobbyists than there is one. One lobbyist can't be everywhere. And so while we have one lobbyist and maybe 20 hygienists coming in and helping, it's still the one lobbyist that has the biggest leverage. And that same goes for the national level, right? Our lobby team in DC, that contract can range from 80 grand a year to well close to $200,000 a year for an entire lobby team. And so you negotiate those contracts based on your needs. So while our budget might be around, I don't know, $250,000, $300,000 a year, it's not enough, right? We want to funnel more money into that. I would like to see every state have at least one, two, or three lobbyists. And the only way to do that is to have every hygienist supporting that work.
Is there a way for states to just, this might be a dumb question because I don't know how this works, but put something up on social media or online or whatever, almost like a GoFundMe account to fund like these lobbyists as these things come up? Is that a thing?
There's a lot of laws around
Okay.
paid lobbyists and tax implications and things like that. That's why your membership, becoming a member, that is all taken care of for you in a nice package that's covered legally, ethically, and by the IRS. So funding legislative initiatives, there are ways, but it becomes very tricky, very complicated, and there's tax implications for our organization on that. So we don't want to spend extra money or have people donate money and then have to pay that money towards taxes and things like that. So your ADHA membership, you get all of your CE, you get all of your networking, all of your support, all of your advocacy, all bundled in to a few $100s a year, which is significantly less than anybody would ever pay in union dues. If you became a union member, you have to pay monthly dues. So, I mean, you are getting all of that in your membership. It's very complicated to do it other ways.
It
Is
is.
there a way? I'm just thinking, this whole situation with Nevada and Arizona right now, it's like an emergency right now. I pay my ADHA dues, but if I wanted to give more to these states to give support, is there an avenue to do that?
We're working
Well,
on it. There isn't
working
right
on
now,
it.
but it's coming.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yes.
coming. Yes, we've been working on that for probably 6 months.
Oh,
See,
okay.
when she was talking about how it's very complicated, it is
Yeah.
very complicated. We're talking with legal, we're talking with our auditors, like what do we need to do? What's going to set the association up for our best success, where we can use the dollars that we might be receiving towards advocacy and not have to pay taxes on them. Or, those are going to be tax deductible donations, right? So it's important to be able to communicate those things to our members.
And also,
So
there's a layer of transparency too, that anytime somebody gives us money, we need a system in place to show exactly where that money is going, accountable to our auditors, accountable to our members as well. So yeah, collecting a whole bunch of money is pretty easy, but allocating it and tracking it and being fully transparent of where each dollar is going is really, really paramount for our organization.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm glad that you guys are working on it, but taxes, I get it. If they're just so complicated.
some states already have assessments in place that
Okay.
is attached to their membership. Not every state has chosen to do that. Again, remember, in our tripartite, the state could consider doing that.
Mhm.
It's up to the state leadership to decide if they want to do that, to allow a member to add an assessment. We call it an assessment fee. That's basically a donation towards
Okay.
their work now. But again, not every state chooses to do that. And I think that volunteer leaders are fearful. I mean, I'll be frank, I know that state leaders are fearful of raising dues because they feel that hygienists won't join. And that's hard. That's a hard conversation to have with state leaders.
Yeah, I'm just glad that this is something you're working on, because at least for me, it makes sense to like have the dues set at whatever they are, but then people can choose if they want to donate above and beyond that. I remember I reached out to Colorado, I don't know, it was a few months ago, and I was like, can I just like give you guys some money? Like how do I do that? And they have some merch that they sell. And then they were like, you can actually like just give us money in this way if you want to. So it would be nice if all states had that option, I think.
We're actively working on finding ways
Yeah.
to do that. But we're also actively, like Lancette was saying, working on ways to change the organization in the sense of what membership categories look like,
Mhm.
how you pay your dues. All of those things are changing and I hope in the next year or even two. That's something that it's been a discussion for, let's see, this is my 7th year in leadership. This has been a discussion for quite a while. Let's just say
Okay.
over 5 years. It's
Yeah.
time for that change to happen. And we are positioning ourselves internally. We are positioning ourselves to be able to do that soon. This organization is going to see some massive change in the next year or two. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun
Well,
for me in the past president seat, watching it finally come to fruition. So it'll be fun.
that's awesome. Yeah, you guys sure are busy. Well, now I'd like to get into some of the spicier type stuff that's going on right now. And I guess we could just start with Nevada. A lot of people are really familiar with what happened there, but I'd like to just get a quick kind of synopsis of what happened and also how the ADHA helped in that situation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am a licensed hygienist in Nevada for almost the last 30 years. So Nevada is my home state. I was legislative chair, championed lots of bills over the last 30 years in Nevada. First, I would love to direct everybody to the ADHA podcast. That podcast came out probably about 2 weeks ago from when this will air, but the ADHA podcast really goes into detail. We have Nevada leaders, we have ADHA leaders talking about the bill language, the efforts, and kind of what is needed for future, right? Next steps. But honestly, Dental Hygiene Association leaders worked really on this issue in Nevada for the last 2.5 years. And you can hear more about all that on the ADHA podcast. But I think a
And I
couple
can link
things.
that
Yeah,
too.
thank you.
Yeah.
A couple of things, because we don't have time to go into all the detail, but a couple like main talking points that I wanted to clear up is, first of all, there's like a lot of misinformation out there. So I'd like to just clear up some of that. I also think it's important to know that what happened in Nevada, while that bill did not pass, we are not calling that a win. That was a success this one time. We're slowing things down. That bill is not active right now, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to come back or pop up in another state. But what happened in Nevada was the first, and that's really what I want to highlight on. Also, going back to like social media and PR campaigns and things like that helped. We mobilized hygienists across the country to call and write. But it literally was the boots on the ground that stopped that bill from passing. It was us going in, Nevada leaders, me going in and having face-to-face meetings with senators and lawmakers, calls to the governor's office. The PR helped, but it was the boots on the ground. It was the Nevada Dental Hygienists Association that just showed up day after day after day. Sometimes people had to drive hours to even get to the Capitol, spend 10 hours there, hours to get back. And we have built relationships with Nevada lawmakers for over 20 years, to build trust, to build relationships, to even have a reputation as a long-standing organization that you can even get a meeting with a senator, right? Because they don't just take meetings from everybody. So I think my talking point here is that Nevada has worked very strong legislatively, like Colorado, very equal to Colorado. A few other states are very, very progressive and more aggressive legislatively. And that's really how we came out of this kind of alive, I'm going to say. But also, Nevada leaders basically reached out to ADHA immediately and said, we need a plan. We need to be unified. We need to work on this together. And that is what helped. Now, other states have chosen not to reach out to ADHA, and we've seen that not go as well. So when you have a parent organization and when you have a state organization working hand in hand, in tandem, each playing kind of a pivotal role, you can accomplish great things. ADHA has a team of social media influencers that we work with. So we reach out to them and ask them to share our messages. We have the voter voice where we can get mass emails or mass phone calls or mass texts out immediately. And then on the state level, that's the boots on the ground. They're driving hours, they're setting up meetings, they're having the face-to-face meetings, and it really took both. So my recommendation is for all states now, when you listen to this podcast, call ADHA and say, here's where we are, here's what's on our radar. Let's start strategizing before you're in crisis mode. But if a crisis does pop up like it did just in Arizona, we can still, ADHA has a whole dedicated staff to help you. So when you say like, where does dues dollars go? We have one national advocacy person and we have one state advocacy person. And that one state advocacy person will help states anytime that they call. But ADHA is not here to tell states what to do or to babysit states or to mandate states. We are here to help support states. So if states don't want our help, we stay out of it. And if they want our help, we jump in as much as we can. And then lastly, just kind of clearing up the misinformation out there. In the podcast where you had Dr. Kessler on, we were very concerned because he did present quite a bit of misinformation about OPA models. The military model has actually been around longer than I've been alive. I think it's been 57 years or something. And we were not blowing things out of proportion in Nevada. I was here, boots on the ground, reading that bill, talking about that bill. Nothing was blown out of proportion at all. That bill in Nevada actually allowed anybody off the street to become a licensed dental hygienist. Not an assistant scaling teeth, it was actually a licensed dental hygienist. So when Dr. Kessler stated that they had to be assistants, they had to be trained a certain way to demonstrate competency, if you read the bill, section 77 through 79 of the bill, there was no requirement to be a dental assistant anywhere in the text. The bill would have allowed anyone to skip college altogether and get a license through on-the-job training with a supervising dentist. So no dental assistant, no healthcare background, no CODA accredited program, no clinical boards, no written boards. So the fact that the American Dental Association went on record in May that they supported this model and other alternative pathways is very concerning to us because there seems to be a disconnect between what Dr. Kessler or some other dentists actually describe as the value and skill sets behind dental hygienists versus legislation that bypasses all of that completely. So although the bill did not pass in Nevada, it kind of died because it ran out of time because we were able to slow it down and stall it. We're not calling that a win. It's success, but it's short term. And there's going to be other legislation that's coming forward. And I think, Erin will have an opportunity to talk about some of the meetings we've had with the Dental Association. But, the moment ADHA learned about this legislation, Nevada Dental Hygienists Association and ADHA stepped in. We started reaching out to all those partners, like I said, that we had worked with. We'd been meeting with the Academy of General Dentistry for a year. We've been meeting with the Breathe Institute, the AAPMD, the International Federation of Dental Hygienists. We've been working with them already for a year. So when this crisis came, we could reach out to our partners and say, hey, we know that you support us and see value. Will you write letters? And they did. They stepped up and they did. And that meant a tremendous amount to us. But again, that wasn't just a coincidence. That's proof that we've been working for a whole year on building, these relationships. So, although we had a great defense in Nevada, I would love for this to just kind of set a roadmap for the future of how we need to start looking at legislation now from the offense instead of the defense.
And
So
that's exactly what I wanted
yeah.
to ask, because when that bill died, people were like celebrating online, and I'm like, okay, like, what are you celebrating about? Because this is, yeah, sure, maybe it died. It's going to come back. There's going to be more states that are going to start cranking these out. So what can states do instead of reacting to be offensive, like what you were saying, and prepare for when this happens?
Yeah, well, number one, every single dental hygienist needs to join ADHA. We have got to have the lobbyists to work with us. Lobbyists is who helps write bills. Lobbyists are who help fight and lobby and show up at testimony, right? So what I would suggest is, and we've had ADHA webinars on this. We've talked about this to our states for quite a few months now, almost a whole year. We've been telling states, before even this happened, we were encouraging states, do not wait for the bill to come forward that you're going to fight. You bring forward the bill that you want. You be the first one at the table. You bring forward full professional autonomy. You bring forward, what you want to see in your state. Some hygienists care about Botox. Some hygienists care about independent practice. Some hygienists care about access to care. Some hygienists care about medical dental integration. Start working with a lobbyist with the State Dental Hygiene Association and write the bill to make it happen. Do not wait. Do not wait. Now is our time. This is this tsunami that I've been talking about. We know that Virginia is going to be bringing forward some very progressive legislation. Nevada is going to be bringing forward some very progressive legislation. And if I was you in a state, I would be asking for it all, because there is no reason why we all can't have the exact same scope of practice and be elevated and practice at the full scope of our education and skill set. So number one, how do we fight this? Every single hygienist needs to join ADHA, and you need to do it immediately. Those dollars come to us immediately, and we start adding new programs, new activities, new staff, new lobbyists. We start to grow as soon as those membership dollars come in. Number two, state associations. Meet with your lobbyists, develop your legislative strategy, and start writing your own bills.
Okay. And I wanted to give you guys, since you mentioned the interview with Dr. Kessler and the American Dental Association, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to some of what was said. You already did, but he said some other things as far as like a meeting that was canceled and maybe unproductive meetings. And so I just want to see your take on that, and also what's your relationship like with them right now?
We did have a second meeting scheduled, and it was smack dab in those last day of the Nevada legislation. I canceled that meeting because I had to be at our state capitol fighting this bill. And so I talked to Erin about, where is our time and valuable time going to go? I needed to be in the Nevada state capitol because we're on the last days of the session. So canceling that last meeting, and we did very politely say, we are in the middle of something huge right now. And obviously he signed the letter, he supported, he knew what was going on in Nevada, so he should have understood that. We did have a previous meeting, though, that was very disappointing, and I'll just let Erin talk about that.
Sure. First, I just want to say one quick thing, because you mentioned it earlier, Stephanie, like the spicier stuff. So I have ultimate respect for leaders in the ADA. They are in the
100%.
same seat that myself and Lancette are in. And so, like myself, they have to answer to their membership, just like Lancette and I have to listen to our own membership, right? So that is their responsibility, and I completely respect that. And there is nothing personal. I have respect for Dr. Kessler. There's nothing personal there. And I just don't want that to escalate to another level, because that's not where we are at. We are cohorts in the same space. We're in dentistry together. We will always be in dentistry together. And I don't want that to be misunderstood. I think one thing that we started out the year and we had at least I had great hopes for collaboration with the ADA. We had a conversation at the Greater New York Dental Meeting. We decided we needed to meet. In that meeting, at least I, noticed two distinctly different philosophies from our organizations and our professions. One organization being in panic mode, wanting to develop a push for oral health models to manage chronic disease and solve a workforce shortage, right? And then here, ADHA, we are shifting to a very proactive approach, aiming to and hoping to elevate the dental hygienist and promote a profession that has a prevention focus, not chronic disease management. And for the betterment of public health, right? We want to protect the public. We want systemic health for all to be improved. And this made collaborating incredibly difficult. And yes, while we're against the OPA model, we're against the model that came, I don't even know what to call the model in Nevada. It doesn't really have a name.
I don't either. Train wreck, I don't know.
I've worked in the military model in my 30 years, and I can tell you right now, it does not work. Reducing educational requirements for a dental hygienist or for someone to have access to care is not the answer that anyone is looking for the health and the well-being of the people that live in this country. We were hopeful to be part of an oral healthcare plan for the future. We were told exactly we were not included. There was no plan for dental hygiene in their oral health plan. They told us exactly what was coming, and we listened. We started building advocacy action centers. We started building toolkits for our state leaders. We started talking to our state leaders about, contact us. We're here to help. We're here to support. We're here to strategize, all of those things. So that was the launching point. So even though the thought is that our meetings didn't go well, in a sense they did, we got information and we were able to leverage that for the best for our members and our profession. But it's important to understand, I heard him say, Stephanie, that you're valued, that you had the ability to impact systemic health of the individuals you were caring for, right? I heard him say that. I have that in my practice. My employer values the conversations I'm having. He loves that I'm having those systemic conversations. Well, they're not reimbursable. That is exactly true. But we can't have it both ways, right? You can't elevate us and then come underneath us and say somebody else can do our job on the job trained. You just can't have it both ways. The value of a hygienist is unmeasurable, and we all know that. So I think that the things that we need to focus on is that elevating the hygienist, allowing full practice authority and professional autonomy is the fastest way to increase access to care. Then we can all work at top of scope. And if we all have professional autonomy across the country, then we can get all the little things that we want, like Botox. Some states are still fighting for local anesthesia advancements. All the little things will come. Instead of going one thing at a time, let's just go for the whole kit and caboodle, right? Full practice authority is going to really advance access to care. And I just want to say one other thing. In part of our work this year, I did approach the ADA Coding Maintenance Committee to allow ADHA to have a seat at the table, for hygienists to have a voice at what is coded correctly, incorrectly, what is potentially reimbursable is up to a dental insurance provider, but there needs to be coding. We have asked for this seat more than once. I think this might be the third time we've asked, and this is the third time we have been declined, right? Now, so an organization is overseeing coding maintenance, CODA accreditation, all of the things, the licensure, the regulation, and we're just asking to be at the table and it's not being allowed. So that's a challenging space to be in.
Can you explain to me, because this is something I still like, whenever I say the word autonomy, I feel like that means different things to different people. So can you just explain, I guess, like how the ADHA is structured when it comes to like CODA and ADA, and are there goals for us to completely branch out on our own in the future?
Okay, so you asked two questions there. I don't know.
Yeah.
ADHA structure is a professional association. So we're a business and we are not the regulatory body over our licensure in the country. So the regulatory body in Colorado, Nebraska, and wherever, if you're in New Mexico or Texas, that's your state dental board and your legislature, right? Your statutes. That's what regulates autonomy or full practice authority. And let me just say this, autonomy does not mean we're leaving dentistry. It means we're redefining ourselves. So autonomy means we would be in control of our education. We would be in control of our licensure and our regulation and the discipline of dental hygiene. Right now, CODA is under the umbrella of the ADA.
Okay.
That is not ADHA. We don't have control over curriculum accreditation. That is all through CODA, which is a ADA arm, if you will. And so we are under that umbrella. That's the confusing part. We're asking to be in charge of ourselves.
And then we come out and we practice, right, in states that are regulated by dental boards, which have severely heavy dentist dominance. Anywhere from 80 to 90% of dental boards are made up of dentists. So our education is controlled by dentists. Our licensure and practice and discipline is controlled by dentist dominant dental boards, which means hygienists have a very small window to influence any kind of change whatsoever. So yes, ADHA has talked about autonomy for decades, for 30 years. Certain states have pursued that and not been successful yet. But that is ADHA's number one, I would say, charge for the next couple years is pursuing full professional autonomy. And we did talk to the American Dental Association about that. And that's, again, another place where we can't we can't compromise on on-the-job training. We can't compromise on dismantling dental hygiene education. We can't compromise on giving up on our pursuit of autonomy, because while they want busy schedules and butts in the chair, dental hygienists want to serve the public in a wide variety of ways. We want dental hygienists embedded in every care setting, from primary care clinics to oncology centers to wellness centers, mobile clinics, schools, community centers, because the traditional dental practice is one way to deliver care, but we don't want it to be the only way for people to get dental care. And right now, that is what organized dentistry wants. Where organized dental hygiene is, we want hygienists everywhere. Think about, if we really want to impact health, we have got to bring care to people where they're at and not expect them to come to a dental office. There's lots of places and lots of ways that people can get care. So full professional autonomy means that dental hygienists would be developing dental hygiene curriculum. Dental hygienists would be accrediting programs. Dental hygienists would have their own board. Every single health profession is self-regulated and has their own board besides dental hygiene. Physical therapists, nurses, speech therapists, they all have their own boards. They're not regulated by physicians. So autonomy means that we take ownership. We actually claim ourselves as a profession, and we are charged with education, practice, licensure, and discipline, and that no other entity gets to decide what dental hygienists do besides dental hygienists.
Well, it's interesting to me that the ADA basically created the standards for dental hygienists, right? Like, as far as the curriculum and licensure and all that. But then now they're like, well, never mind. Let's just, let's just train these people. So it's definitely a mixed message for sure.
It is a contradiction. And that was my point. You can't have it both ways. Hold us to the standard, but then go out and undercut us at the same time. And back to your question, ADHA would have a role in that path to professional autonomy or full practice authority by investing membership dollars towards that work. And I'll use the dentist and the dental hygiene compact as an example, right? We did partner with the ADA on that. We've also partnered with the Department of Defense. All three organizations have made financial investments in that work. It wasn't free. And a good chunk of it came from our own Department of Defense. And our Congress allocated that money for that. So there's several layers of financial support that comes from that. And the same would go for dental hygiene accreditation. I don't know what that would look like. The how comes later. It's more about what we want is the issue at this point. And looking at how we do it, ADHA would have to invest the funds to figure that out. And that's another way that membership dues, and here I feel like I'm beating this drum, join ADHA, right? But that's another way that your membership dues as a member supports the work to advance the discipline of dental hygiene, hopefully towards licensure reform, hopefully towards educational accreditation, that we accredit ourselves. And I think that it's hard to even imagine it because it's so big, right? But it isn't about independent practice. It is not at all about independent practice because not every hygienist wants that. But every hygienist wants to be in control of their career. They want to be in control of how they learn, what they learn, where they learn it. And I think that that's where we need to focus our time and our energy and our dollars.
And we can look at nursing as a great example. Nursing is 120 some years ahead of dental hygienists. Nurses work with physicians and PAs and medical assistants, but they have their own professional autonomy. They have their own scope of practice, their own education. So that's really what we are striving for.
We have 2 webinars on autonomy at ADHA. So I'd encourage anyone to get on our CE Smart. I believe they're available to view and learn about where our push is headed. We've had some articles published across other journals and magazines talking about professional autonomy, but this is where the association is headed. And this is where we're committed at pushing those membership dollars towards.
When I hear things from ADHA or other people online, things like autonomy or Botox that you mentioned before, anesthesia, independent practice, whatever it is, like I'm all for hygienists growing and expanding their licenses or their scope of practice. But the fact of the matter is right now is there's a lot of dental offices struggling because they cannot find hygienists. And so are there any solutions or ideas from the ADHA to help this situation?
That's interesting you bring that up because that's not technically what the data says. Well, many are saying that they're in need of hygienists. 67% of dental offices are not looking for a hygienist. And that's in the most recent Health Policy Institute data from the American Dental Association. So we have a really loud crowd right now telling us they need hygienists. But the data is saying something specifically different. The data is telling us that maybe we have a workforce issue because our work environment is not supportive of our workforce. And I just also want to say this, the entire country is suffering from a workforce issue. It is not only dental hygiene or dentistry, medicine, nursing, right? The service industry, grocery stores, everybody is scrambling for warm bodies. And we have to be really careful about who those warm bodies are and how they're trained. But that's where ADHA is coming from, is we need to address the actual data. Now, a workforce isn't really a workforce shortage, or is it a maldistribution of our workforce? Do we have states where hygienists are just simply not working? And why aren't they working is the big question. I don't have good data to actually tell me that there is a workforce shortage when I have some states that have more licensed hygienists than they do dentists. And nationally, we have more hygienists than we do have dentists. It's really hard to find that data.
67% you said of offices are not looking for a hygienist. That still leaves a third of dental practices that,
and I don't know why that is, right?
Okay.
The data just doesn't dive into that. And I don't know why that is. But when we look at the data from hygienists, it's telling us, I want better working environments. I want, yes, while pay is part of it, I want benefits. I want a compensation package. I want to have skin in the game. And I have practice autonomy, I call it, in my practice. I am paid like an associate. I have skin in the game in that practice. The success of that practice, my success is dependent upon the success of that practice. Now, hygienists can be brought in that way, and it can be discussed, and they can be coached. Now, not all hygienists are going to lean into that because it's scary, and I get that. But there are plenty of us that are willing to do that.
I just wonder too, in these offices, like production-based pay, I feel like might be a solution for some offices. For some, maybe developing a really good assisted hygiene program. And I'm not talking about hygienists seeing 2 patients an hour by themselves, or, utilizing a really good assistant. But at least from what I've heard, there needs to be like this ratio of hygienists to dentists. And right now, at least for dentists and hygienists that are graduating, there's not that many more hygienists per dentist. And that's kind of why people say that we're in a shortage.
Well, we
we're
have
coming
more
out of,
hygienists in school than we've
yeah.
had. Every year it's going up, right? We have
And,
over
we're coming out of a
43,000
pandemic
applicants.
also. Like everybody wants these, it's urgent, it's panic right now, but
Mhm.
everybody wants like instant gratification and instant fixes. But honestly, the ADA data is showing that we are already starting to stabilize post-pandemic. It took a couple years. Every single industry had a workforce issue. We have a
Yeah.
shortage of dentists in almost every single state in the United States. We have a shortage of dental hygienists. We have a shortage of dental assistants. We have a shortage of every single healthcare provider out there. So I think we're asking the wrong questions, like how do we fill our schedules? How do we fix this overnight? Instead of how do we actually transform dentistry to meet the needs of their workers and the patients that we serve? Steph, you and I are both ergonomic speakers, employee wellness programs, investing in ergonomic equipment, mental health, looking at alternative scheduling so we can take our kids to school and we can pick them up. There's all kinds of amazing solutions. And we did talk to the American Dental Association about this during their meeting. We said the ADA and the ADHA has a joint survey that was done to specifically look at workforce challenges. They have chosen to not address a single one of the data points that have come out about burnout and what hygienists need to get into the field and to stay in the field. We have hard, concrete data. Now, ADHA, we have been doing webinars. We have taken that data and we have created educational content and webinar to help mental health, to help burnout, to help hygienists learn more about the business side of dentistry. We have chosen to take all that data to support our workforce. But organized dentistry still continues to ignore the data. First of all, about why we got in the situation that we did and how we are coming out of it. So two really great resources that you could put in the show notes is link people to the ADA and ADHA surveys, the HPI surveys that were during the pandemic and now post-pandemic. We have clear data. And then ADHA has a really great workforce kind of initiatives document that maybe Erin can talk about.
Sure, yeah, I was just actually pulling that up because I couldn't remember the name of it. It's the Workforce Growth Initiatives, and we just posted this online, I think a week or so ago. And this goes over all of our educational opportunities are listed there. It goes over our chairside recruitment program to recruit a more diverse profession, if you will. And it also talks about the state of the work report, right? All of the data is in there. It also talks about a survey from program directors. It talks about the CODA dental hygiene report. So we are graduating more hygienists every year. I think even Colorado just added 4 new programs over the course of.
Yeah, they've been busy here.
So yes, so it is happening, but it takes time, and I understand it takes time to graduate those hygienists, right? Because you got accreditation issues, you got 2 years, 3 years, maybe a 4-year program. So we aren't seeing those programs that were opened in 2020, 21 until now, and next year those graduates are going to be hitting the market. So like I said before, we have over 17,000 dental hygiene students in programs right now across the country. And I think it's important to note that last year we had 43,000 applications to dental hygiene programs. So there is certainly interest in the profession. Now, we just might not have enough space for everyone. And that's a whole nother conversation with educators, space. There's a lack of educators. There's a lack of infrastructure to expand programs. I mean, even my own city here, the dean has said, yeah, I'd love to grow the program, but I don't have a big enough building to put everybody in.
Yeah.
And not only that, I don't have enough educators to teach them. So that's the challenge, is everybody is seeing this workforce squeeze, if you will. And it's really not a time to run and jump into the deep end of the pool. We need to take it slow and make good decisions for this profession and for dentistry, and to protect the public that we so care so deeply about. And that's something that ADHA really, really cares about, is protecting the public.
What do you think about, because, okay, I just want to come out and make this very clear. The OPA and obviously on the job, quote unquote, hygienists, I don't support. However, I do think that we're going to see this in the future, depending on what state you're in. What do you guys think about making sure that hygienists are the ones ensuring competency for these trainees? Because I'm going to generalize, but I do not think dentists are the ones that should be doing it. But what do you guys think about that?
Well,
No, I mean,
I have
no,
really
yeah,
feelings against it.
we are very
Yeah.
focused on accredited programs. We are not going to probably support any models that eliminate accredited college education. Now, dental hygienists are already teaching dental hygiene students, right, in accredited programs. So when you dismantle accredited education, that is something that at ADHA we do not support.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's well said. Very to the point. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you guys something. So I had a student reach out to me on Instagram. I think she was in her first year of practice and she's like, or of school. And she was like, I am in my first year and I'm seeing all this stuff going on. And she was thinking about quitting. And she's like, I don't even know if I should pursue this profession. What do you say to that? Because I didn't even know what to say.
I actually have mentored a couple students into the program this year, and I tell them this. I feel like it is the best time to get into this profession. I call it the golden age. And the reason why I say that is because, first of all, we have a lot of technology at our hands at arm's length, right, to do our job. So much technology coming forward, supporting what we do, not just research, but we can put together treatment plans because of that technology supporting why people need periodontal care, why systemic medical dental integration is so important. The hiccup is going to be the regulation. The regulation is what's stifling us to be able to utilize that technology to do our job at the fullest. And that's the laws in place. I'll use Nebraska as an example, just because I live here, right? I can't work anywhere without the supervision of a dentist. I can, with a very limited scope under my public health permit, work without a dentist. Now, it's not enough scope to even make a dent, in my opinion, in the care for a patient in an area of the state where dental care is not accessible. Now, if those were released, I have so much technology at my hands to be able to get the best care for those patients in remote areas. And that's why I think as a student, you're on the cusp of major change, of great advancements and places that hygienists have never been. So if we look at supervision restrictions in the state I live, if that supervision restriction was removed, I could be in a hospital, I could be in a school, a nursing home, I could be in memory care, I could be everywhere where a dentist is not, because a dentist isn't going to supervise me in a medical setting. That's just not possible. So at least not in my mind. It could be wrong, and somebody can correct me, and they probably will.
They will.
Yeah, they will.
I don't think that
fine.
I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a dental hygienist than right now. While this is messy, it doesn't make us feel great. It's creating a lot of fear, a lot of emotion. It is kind of putting a division between dentists and hygienists right now. I think this is exactly what needed to happen. I've been fighting for autonomy for 30 years as a hygienist. So of 30 years of being an officer, a board member, this has been my charge for my whole career. This is what I've been talking about. And we haven't been able to move the needle. And I think we had to hit rock bottom. We had to have a crisis to open up big conversations and drive change. And I always believe that you are only going to get out of your profession what you put in. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, you're listening to all the negative chatter, you don't want to be a member, you don't want to support your association that's working for you, you're going to probably feel very disheartened and disgruntled, and you are not going to enjoy this career. But if you pour into it, it pours back into you. And when you can write laws and change them, I have changed laws for 30 years to create my dream career. I made that happen. I think this is exactly what needed to happen to change. Otherwise, we would have kept the same model, doing the same things the same way for eternity. And dental hygienists deserve more.
Right. I think what you said, Lancette, is that you created it. So we created, Stephanie, you've created a niche for yourself. Outside of clinical hygiene, outside of my professional association, I do some coaching, I do some consulting, I do a little bit of speaking. You create what you want to get out of your profession. And you will feel stifled if you stay within those four walls in your operatory and listen to the negative chatter. You're not going to feel supported. And yes, you will feel miserable. I was there 5 years into my career. I wanted out, went to graduate school, got a master's degree in health promotion, health education. Boom. Like it just like a bomb went off in my head. And that's when I was like, I'm going to lean into exactly what I do every day. And that's how I created my enjoyment in this career. And I think that every student has the ability to grasp that in their head, like in their mind. It's a mindset. It's a growth mindset. And we are climbing a mountain. We're almost to the summit. There's always going to be a mountain. They always show up, right? We get into the valleys and then we get to the summit. But we're going to get to that summit and we're going to see what's going to come from this. So it is the perfect storm. It's going to force us to grow.
Well, that's a great segue into my last question. I think it's my last question. Where do you guys see dental hygiene in the future? Like 10, 20 years from now, what does it look like for you?
Well, I would like to see hygienists in every facet of healthcare.
Yeah.
I'll use this as an example. I had a conversation with an orthopedic surgeon in my chair the other day, and I said, what would it look like if you had access to a hygienist in your hospital? He said, well, considering that I fight biofilm every single day in every case, including trauma, I would love to have a partner that can do the oral health assessment on the spot and tell me what they see and what needs to be addressed before I start doing the bigger piece of putting that person back together again. And so for me, I would love to see hygienists everywhere. But what I think is important is I'd love to see every hygienist join ADHA, support this professional, work towards a professional autonomy, and let's cause a tsunami. I love that word, Lancette.
Yeah, that's my theme.
I think it's great.
I would love to see the profession of dental hygiene be recognized on an equal playing field like others, like physical therapy, like physician assistants. Physician assistants are actually going through their own major reorganization right now and changing their name to physician associates. So when I look at our profession, I'm like, do we need to change our name? Do we need to change the education level that we have? I would love for us to be an entry-level doctorate degree. We need to claim ourselves as prevention specialists. And while the American Dental Association is very focused on the management of chronic diseases, we are the only profession that's focused on the prevention of disease. And if we go back to, we started as prevention, embedded in all kinds of different settings and be recognized as a true professional, that will drastically change our profession. But I'm not just going to blame organized dentistry here. We're making organized dentistry the bad guy right now because they're bringing forward all these bills and legislation that we don't like. But it also is our own fault. It's hygienists' own fault, right? Mm-hmm. Sitting on the sidelines, thinking we have the safe, comfy seat, a safe, comfy job, and not want to have to take any accountability for the business or any accountability for writing legislation or any accountability. Like, we need to step up and own that we are half the problem as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I'm like, we're not blameless in all of this.
No.
I just
so
had
any
this
final
thought.
Oh, go ahead.
I just had this one thought, Stephanie and Lancette. There could be sweeping change that could occur in the United States, across the country, if we had one thing happen. If we removed the focus on legislation, OPA model, the on-the-job trained, whatever we're going to call that, if we just moved, right? If practice authority was given to dental hygiene, the development of dental hygiene boards in every state to provide regulatory oversight of our own profession. We don't need to wait for legislation, right? State dental boards have the ability to do this. And like she said,
we can have immediate change.
Immediate change.
Mm-hmm.
Like she said, most of them are controlled by dentists. My state has 2 hygienists on the state dental board. We have more hygienists probably in the state than we do have dentists. It's out of sync there. But I mean, enacting those changes immediately could alleviate access to care issues in so many ways. And there's so many different ways to look at that situation. It would create a completely different profession for those new graduates. More opportunities, more work opportunities, because I mean, a hospital or a large organization can provide better professional benefits, better whatever, and that might be what people are looking for. We failed to mention earlier, and this was brought to my attention because I have a friend who's really struggling this with right now. Like, I can't stay at work because I can't afford my daycare, right? She's taking 3 kids to daycare. I'm working to pay daycare. So what is the point for me to stay at work? And so the cost of living, all of the things that families are struggling with, this is playing into that decision for hygienists also to not stay in the workforce. So if we could have just sweeping change legislatively like that and not have to go down the long road of legislation and bills and debates, and it takes 5 years to get that legislation even undergoing. I mean, there's states that have enacted legislation that haven't even been followed through on yet. And that's the issue with legislation, right? Lancette, if the state boards would just let go.
Yeah, I mean, really, I would say my solution here is if the dental hygiene profession can take ownership of our own profession and focus on our workforce issues, and the dental profession focuses on the shortage of dentists and how we really elevate each other, how do we work together? We could even consider bringing in other models, but there still has to be some accountability there and standardized education. There is a path forward, but we just have very different views on what it looks like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of, I don't know, just how everything evolves and shakes out over even the next 6 months. I just feel like things are changing so fast.
Day by day.
Yeah,
Day by day,
seriously.
hour by hour. And I think it's just important for anyone listening in the dental hygiene profession or even dental in itself, this isn't going to stop, right?
Yes.
This is going to start it's going to go across the country, and it's going to feel like a crisis over and over again. So how do we proactively find ways to not have that happen, right? Because it expands a lot of energy, emotion, not just us, but the public, the legislators, everybody involved. There just has to be a better way to find solutions without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Dismantling everything we've had for 100 years, I don't know is the best answer. It's not the best answer. I feel confident because I graduated from an accredited program. I knew my education prepared me to take my boards. So accreditation is, while it feels like a barrier, it protects the public, it protects the student, it protects us as providers, right? We can go back and know that if we need extra help, we can go back and take a course from an accredited institution. If something has changed in our scope of practice, I can go there and get my education, and I know I'm learning the right techniques and protocols and all of those things. So it's just not in our best interest to dismantle that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Today's Saturday. I know you've got, I'm sure, some fun plans today. Any parting words before we say goodbye?
My only parting words is that this is my last week as ADHA president. So this has been the ride of my life. I couldn't have wished for another partner better than Lancette. She started out as a mentor for me to get me here, and here she is following it behind me. And I couldn't have wished for that to happen. That wasn't the plan. So that's been amazing. I appreciate her so much. And for anyone listening, join your professional association, get involved, let your voice be heard, start talking to your leaders to understand the big issues. And it's important, Stephanie, you asked some good questions about how ADHA runs. What is our structure? Where do my dues go? Those are all okay questions to ask, but asking them in the frame of mind to learn, not to create some sort of a spicy conversation or an ulterior motive, right? Like, I'm open to answering those questions, but joining the association is key to our success because we're going to push those dollars right to advocacy and supporting the profession. And Lancette, in a week, you're taking the helm. You're going to do great. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, this is not the same ADHA, right? I mean, ADHA has done amazing things. I've been a member for 32 years now. I've also served as an officer, board member, you name it. I've always supported my association, but we are in a new era and we have big dreams, big visions, and we have brave leadership that's actually willing to do the work and have the tough conversations. And I want to thank you, Stephanie, for having us. I know you are very busy as well. So the fact that you invited us, you wanted to hear from us, that really means a lot to us. If you want the information, go to the source, right? So we're always here. We're always an open book. And I just appreciate you asking us to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I just want to share as many different perspectives as I can. So again, thank you guys for your time. I'll make sure to put your contact information and those resources that you mentioned for the ADHA in the show notes so people can just easily find you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.